Hello and hi, my name is Connor. In this video, I am going to be talking about my 5 favorite EPs from January of 2026. This is a series that I started last year, and I kept up with it for the most part. I think it was in September where I got a little bit loosey-goosey with it because I started reviewing more than like 20 albums at a time. So I kind of condensed it all, and it just kind of went away in some aspects at the end of last year. But now that we're back here in February, I will be talking about January, and we are right back on track, essentially. Hope that's okay. Or I guess if you're new here, then there's no issue whatsoever. Smooth sailing. I do this all the time. You're in great hands. And I guess let's just start with the first one, which is going to be EP1 by Sheoldred. This is actually an album that I mentioned slightly in my newest Bandcamp video. I talked about how some of the members are from the band Moreru, who I love and I talked a lot about last year. This is very much a power metal album with, of course, some elements of punk and screamo as well. So I think if you're into anything where you have really long dark hair, I guess maybe like spiked van braces and maybe like a black, tank top, then this is for you, for sure. With that said too, this isn't normally my sort of sound. I do like metal music, but I don't really like hyper aggressive metal music like this. But I really do enjoy the music here on this EP. I think what really does it for me on this EP is that it's Magic the Gathering themed. And now that is something I really enjoy. So, when I walked up, I said, Sheoldred, she's on the cover? That's awesome. What? They have all of these song names that are actually card names? What the heck? That's awesome. I'm just going to assume that you probably don't know what the names are referencing. The song titles are Aether Vial, Thoughtseize, Unholy Heat, True Name Nemesis, and Armageddon. And then, of course, Sheoldred, which I showed a second ago, hopefully. Now, one thing I will say is that I can't quite comment on the lyrics because, well, they're screamo, so they're a little bit on the indecipherable side. But when you can make out what they're saying, it's just a lot of references to the cards themselves. Like on the song Thoughtseize, it's just the lead singer singing, Thoughtseize. So I feel like that one's pretty easy to understand. But I think for me, the real highlight of this is just the great guitar riffs and the drum work. It just hit. And that is really what I want out of power metal, so I'm not going to complain at all. I think if you like Moreru, this isn't quite the same thing, though it is from some of the same people, so it's a lot of that same sort of mindset and also skill set too. So I think if you like that band, you are for sure going to like Sheoldred as well. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. In conclusion, my favorite song is going to be that one called Thoughtseize. Next up is going to be an EP from the band Yuunari, and this is titled Yosuga. This to me sounds like a mix of Flowering by the Floatings, which was an album that came out last year, as well as a combination of, I would say, maybe Tiny Yon's latest EP from last year as well too. And when I say all that, I do mean that this here is just a really nice combination of what I would say is alt rock with a hint of math rock too. And if you know me and what I like and what I talk about here on my channel, that's a lot of it. I love math rock, and while I wouldn't quite call this a math rock album, I would really say that a lot of the songs, of which there are only 3 unfortunately, they really do have a lot of that classic math rock riffing that I feel like you could maybe hear from even more modern bands, such as, I'd say Dount, I'd maybe even say Suichu Speaka, maybe not entirely though. I would also say Anti, and also probably /Naname. Because of that, I do hear a little bit of Hitohira as well, especially on that final song. But generally, I do really like this EP. I just think it's a little bit too short for me. But again, it's only 3 songs long. I think when the band eventually makes their second EP, there is going to be a wealth of content, some great songs. And I mean, personally, I would love for all 3 of these to actually carry over onto their debut album. I think they are just that strong. And I say that because they've got great melodies just weaved into every single song here. I love that vocal melody on the title track, which is Yosuga. It's great. If I remember correctly, it's something along the lines of bum 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 bum. It's so cool. I really like it. I think you will too. It's a great song. Obviously, I like it a lot. But I think for me, what is really making these melodies stand out in my mind is that not only are these vocal melodies fantastic, the actual instrumental ones are too. Whenever I listen to any of these songs, I can't help but I just really love all of these songs. I wish there was more, so I guess in synopsis here, I would just say that it is a very short but sweet and even amazing EP, and I cannot wait for more. This is so cool. I think my favorite song here is probably going to be Yosuga, but I really like Kamyaku as well. It's close, but I think Yosuga, just because that melody like barely sticks out a little bit more for me, so it's like 2% higher. Now, the third album is going to technically be the debut album from the artist YukiDoke, and this is titled Itsu no Hika. Now, this is technically the debut EP. However, YukiDoke is actually more of a side project, and that is from someone who is named Riku Nakajima. Now, from what I could find, they are mainly a Vocaloid producer and artist in that way, though it does seem like they've got multiple projects, so this is their third, I believe. With all that said, it is no surprise that they are really gifted when it comes to making instrumentals. I think for this album, I would say that I hear a lot of early Trico as well as People in the Box, which is a winning combination for anyone who likes early 2010s, just Japanese rock in general, really. One thing that was very interesting to me, though, is that the mixing is kind of stuffy sounding, if you will. I would say that all of the songs here have a very muddled sort of sound to their mix, and normally I would think that's not good. And maybe I still don't think it sounds very good, especially from someone who should be more in tune with mixing across projects. But I think for that reason, there is an actual artistic intention with this choice. So I find that on pretty much every single song, the vocals are mixed way too low and like way too far back. And then of course, the actual mixing on the instrumentals is, I suppose, fine, though it's not very clear sounding. Again, it sounds very like muddy and also muddled. What I will say is that I think the intention here is sort of combined with the artist's name, and that of course being YukiDoke, and that means like melting snow, okay? So in my mind, the songs are like inside of like an ice cube or like snowpack or something. You can hear it, but that's only because the snow or the ice is like melting around it. So I'm pretty sure that's not the intention, but I would really like for it to be. I think that would be super cool. But that's kind of my headcanon for why the mixing is not super great here. But despite that though, I do still like it, obviously. I will also say that all of the songs do stand out in some way, even though they are all sort of sounding the same because they are on the same project. But I think they each have their own personality, and that really works for me. My favorite song on this EP is probably Small Solitude. I feel like they all really give that song a run for its money. But the thing about Small Solitude is that there is this great high-pitched guitar riff, or refrain even, throughout the song. And that is what's really, doing some of the heavy lifting Trico sound for me. So I love that. I thought that was a really nice addition, and it just really suits the rest of the instrumental too. And with that said, I think if you listen to that song, Small Solitude, you will also like it a lot too, if, again, you like what I like, or at least what I like to talk about, maybe. EP number 4 is going to be the newest from the band Ooh or Oh. I don't quite know, but I'd love to know, so let me know which it is if you do know. Like I said, this is going to be their new EP, which is titled Iede, or just probably Iede. That's probably better. This album is a little bit interesting in that it starts off with a very, I would say, rock Americana sort of song. One that is very much in the style of, I would say, the Black Keys, I would say the Features, though it still retains this sort of Japanese sound to it, much like you would hear from like Ogre You Asshole maybe. So of course, obviously, this first song is titled American because it is really playing into this style. But I feel like for the most part, the rest of the album is not quite like that. For the most part, the rest of the album is very much like folk rock and jazz and also blues. But in general, a lot of the songs sound very dreamy and very tropical. So I would really even attribute some of that to some of that more tropical sound from Harumi Hosono. So I think if you really like that laid back, nice Hawaiian vacation-y sort of like dreamy rock, I think you would really enjoy this too. It's not quite as, I'd say, shoegaze poppy folk rock as maybe like a Mac DeMarco, but it is very much just like laid back, chill. I could hear this playing in some kind of, cafe in like Okinawa, for example. I was in Japan in the end of January, and so with that, one of the places I went to was Tokushima. It's great, it's so vacation-y, I loved it even in January, not too cold, not too hot, and there are just palm trees everywhere. So of course, when I was listening to this EP in preparation for this video, I was there. and let me show you some of the photos that I took on my very first listen of this EP, okay? Like I said, lots of palm trees, lots of just, you know, cute, kind of quaint, traditional, local things, I suppose. And it was just such a nice vibe for my walk. And I think probably that really elevated it in my mind, though I think the EP really stands out on its own, even if you don't have any really nice nostalgic memory tied to it. One thing I do really want to point out too is that final song, which in English is called Lead, which is the title track. So in Japanese, this would be Iede. But this almost has this sort of quaint reverb sound applied to the vocals. And because of that, this song just sounds like you're listening to a sunset, sort of on that tropical, you know, location thing that you have in your head. I thought that was such a perfect ending to a fantastic EP. So I really can't not recommend this for that reason. I think it is just so well constructed, and of course it sounds really good too. It's pleasing to the ears, and then of course I have that memory attached to it too. So I guess for me, this really is just the whole package. Please let me know how I can pronounce this band's name. I want to know. Yeah. Let's talk about that last EP, which is going to be The Greatest Hits That Should End by Iede. This is another instance where I think it's pronounced Iede, potentially Asuate. I don't know, and I think the inclusion of the underline there is not really helping me too much either. But for this video, I'm going to call him Iede. I hope that's okay. This album is kind of funny to me because whenever I listen to it, I just always have the volume a little bit too high. So, you know, maybe I'm at like 60% volume and it still blows out my ears, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I love high mix stuff, so okay for me, but it always surprises me and I always forget. So I don't know. I guess that's a me problem. I think you could very easily designate this as experimental rock. I think you could even call it art rock, but at the same time, it's very punk, it's very aggressive. It's also fairly electronic too. Maybe you could even call it industrial rock. I would probably put it in the fuzz rock category, maybe experimental music too. I don't quite know, but that's kind of the vibe I get from it. Now, in my opinion, Iede is a guy who is not trying to make good music. He's not. He's trying to make something that just sounds really cool to him. But then because of that, the songs are good because they sound cool. So it actually works out in the end. How nice is that, right? Now the songs here are very lyrically dense. I really wanted to run my eyes over all of them and come up with something that I could talk about. But I think you just need to get so much background info from like every single song to understand every single song that I can't just take out like a snippet because you just need like more information from what's going on throughout the rest of the song. And so because of that, I don't really have anything prepared for you here, but just know that I think if you just like someone like talking on top of your experimental rock or art rock, you will like this. A lot of the songs here were really testing my Japanese knowledge, and I guess I am happy to say that I learned some new words out of it. So I guess thank you, Mr. Iede, for teaching me a little bit more about Japanese, so thanks, man. One other thing I noticed about this album too is that a lot of the songs sort of mix a very pop rock sound with almost nu metal on top of everything else that's possibly going on in like every single song here. Like for example on the song, to be in hell is to drift, to be in heaven is to steer, parentheses, digest. What can I say about this other than the fact that so much of this is insanely groovy? And again, it's kind of nu metal, it's kind of punk, but it still is poppy. It's still fun to listen to. It still gets me moving and kind of in a light and happy mood because of just the skeleton structure and the composition of the songs themselves. And one thing I gotta mention is the beat on the song, All of Our Lives Bound to End Like a Greatest Hits, parentheses, I Wish I Could. It's crazy. It just boom, 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 boom. It's almost like a techno song with the way that these 808s are just hit, 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 hit. So I think if you just want some kind of outlier indie rock EP, which is obviously not really trying to be constrained by any one or two genre labels, obviously, right? I mean, come on, like everything I've said. You will really enjoy the hell out of this. And also, honestly, too, my favorite song isn't even any of the ones that I mentioned. My favorite is probably Trabajo de Mierda. My Spanish is awful. I think I did okay. I think it is probably my favorite, but it's really hard to say, especially because each of the songs are really long. The shortest song is like 4.5 minutes, and then the longest song is like 7 minutes something. There's only 6 songs, I believe. Actually, no, I think it might be 5. So I think there's a lot to sink your teeth into and enjoy, because that's certainly how I feel. Okay, and now we are actually at the end of the video. Again, it is nice to be back talking about EPs because I feel like EPs don't ever really get their share of the limelight just because they are shorter projects. And normally, most, discussions are really centered around albums and then sometimes singles too, but primarily just albums. So I love talking about EPs and also just introducing EPs too, because I think they're easy to miss. So I don't want you to miss really, really good ones that come out every single month. With that said too, if you would like to hear me talk about more than 5, you can follow me on Twitter, or if you want to hear even more than that, you can subscribe to me here on YouTube, because all I do is talk about Japanese music. So if that is something you want to learn more about, or to also get more recommendations for, then I'm your guy and this is your channel, but it's my channel. But you can have it sometimes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I like to upload every week, so I will see you next weekend. Bye. Have a nice week, actually. Bye.